It's currently -3 degrees and this Tesla is frozen solid. So in this video I'm going to show you how you get into your Tesla in the winter, how you use the door handle when it's frozen solid, and how you've got to take extra care with those windows. So first off, let's talk about the windows, because the Tesla has frameless doors, and maybe you've not had a car with frameless doors before and you don't realise how careful you've got to be in the winter if you've got frameless doors, because that window moves up electrically under the lip there inside the rubber seal, and if you go and open a frozen door and that window is frozen and hasn't dropped, it's going to break your glass. And that's happened to quite a few people because they either are too vigorous opening their door, or they go and slam their frozen door back and the glass hits the trim here and it breaks. So it can be a very expensive mistake. And it's also common on these for the door handles to be frozen, and if I just try to open that, it's not moving. That is frozen solid. So the first thing you've got to do is use your app and defrost the car. So we can see here it is telling me that it is -2 inside the car. So I click on climate and then I turn the climate on. And we can see it's -2 inside the car and it's -3 externally. And that is now going to start defrosting the car. Word of warning though, on the Tesla they defrost very, very fast. This will be done in about 3 minutes or so. It will get that internal temperature up to the 20 degrees that I'm asking. However, that's still not enough to go and try to open your car, because the heat hasn't gone through the doors and it hasn't melted all the seals around the windows. So while you'll get a notification on your app after 2 or 3 minutes to say the interior temperature is up to what you're cooling for, leave it for a good 20 minutes to properly defrost the car. Also, it's a good idea not to use this defrost option, which seems bizarre because that's exactly what you're trying to do. But the defrost option can be a bit too vigorous. It can get the car up to temperature too quick. And the issue is, you've got a lot of glass in a Tesla, and some people have cracked the glass by using the defrost option. As we can see, after only 40 seconds or so, that ice is already melting. And when you have it on defrost, it puts the heating to maximum, and it can be too much of a thermal shock to the glass. It's akin to boiling water on your glass. So it's best just to use the climate and not set it any higher than 20 degrees. Just let it warm up that little bit slower. And we can see here after only a minute the windscreen is starting to defrost, but also so are the cameras at the top of the screen, because there's a heating element around them. After 4 minutes the interior temperature is up to 13 degrees already, and the exterior temperature is still -2. And we can see here that the windscreen is defrosting well, and that camera is already defrosted, and we can see where the wires run in the glass along the top and down the sides. But this side window isn't defrosting yet, and that's why you need to leave your heating on for much longer to not only defrost the glass, but you've got to let the heat get through the door skin and get some heat into the door, particularly if it's really cold. So I've just got a notification on my app here to say the cabin is up to temperature, and that's in under 6 minutes. And I can see here the cabin temperature is now at 19 degrees, and externally it's now risen to -1. And the ice is starting to melt off the glass here, but if I went up to the door handle, that is still frozen. So what you can do is, when it's really frozen, you can push on this end of the handle, and you can see that's now moving, and that will break any ice, and then potentially you can then open it from that side. But I'm still not going to do that, because that window is still frozen. In the Tesla app there is a function for opening your frozen doors in the winter that a lot of people don't know about, and it's under your control. So I've got the 4 options here. I've accidentally just turned the heating off there, but I've got my 4 icons there, but I don't have the one that I want. So I'm going to push and hold on one of them. That brings up all the other shortcuts, and there is one in here for unlocking the frozen doors, and that's that, and that's the one down there, unlatch door. So I'm going to click and hold that and drag that up to my shortcuts. So now I have got an unlatched door option there, and if I push that, that's going to unlatch the door and hopefully drop that glass. And as you can see there, that glass was frozen. So that's exactly why you've got to be careful with frameless doors in the winter. So if you notice there, that door unlatched and the door pulled that way, but the glass was still caught underneath the trim here. It was still frozen in the rubber seals, and that's exactly why the glass can break. So in this case, I hadn't left this defrosting the car long enough, because there was a very high chance there that that glass could have broken. Or if I then tried to swing the door open and the glass was still being caught by that, then very high chance I could have broken that glass. So if you've got a frozen door, not only have you got to be careful when you're opening it, you've also got to be very careful when you're shutting it, because if that glass hasn't dropped and it's still up at its highest position, when you go to slam the door, it's going to hit this trim and it's going to break your glass.
90% of the viewers of this channel are not subscribed. I'm sorry to ask, but it would help greatly if you would. Just press the subscribe button. It's free and it shows YouTube you like this sort of vehicle related content. If you want to be notified when new videos are released, please click on the bell button also. Thank you, it really helps more than you would imagine.
So my biggest tip is to allow that heating to run for a long time in the morning if it's a very cold morning. Use the preconditioning function. If not, just use the app, fire the heating on, but leave it running for a good 20 minutes. The longer the better. Your unlatched door function is only going to work on your driver's door. So if you've got passengers or you've got kids wanting to get in the back, this is where you've got to be extra careful and just allow that heating to properly defrost the car before you risk opening any of the other doors. But it's worth the wait, because when you get in the car, the cabin's up to temperature. The seats are warm because the seat heaters have been on. The steering wheel is nice and warm to touch because that's heated. And the windscreen is defrosted, so it's safe to drive. And something else you want to do in the winter when it's icy is disable your automatic folding mirrors, because you don't want them to be trying to open in the winter when they're frozen solid, and that ends up breaking plastic. And the way you do that is go to your controls and then mirrors, and you've got that auto fold option there. Take that one off. Also, have a look at your Tesla owner's manual online and look at the cold weather best practice section, because Tesla provides some really useful information here. I'll put the links in the video description below. So if you find that your doors are getting stuck or your glass is getting frozen against the rubbers, then using a rubber lubricant product like this can help. And that would be particularly beneficial on your passenger door and rear doors that don't have the unlock feature in the app. And I'll link to this and other similar products in the video description below. So I hope you found that useful. If you have, please do click the thumbs up. That really does help. And if you want to know more about the Tesla Model Y, there's a link below to a playlist where you can see other videos I've made on these fantastic cars.